welcome back. Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television. This edition of the program I have with me Kingsley Manuel.
Yeah, good morning to you, Mr. Siri. Thanks for having me this morning.
And of course, we start on a very cheering note on Independence Day in Nigeria. A world record holder in the women's 100 meters hurdle event, Toby Amoso, has announced a forthcoming documentary titled The Homecoming, which will tell her a complete athletic story. This is cheering. We understand the Toby Amoso, no doubt about it. You know her to be only in Nigeria with the world record, in athletics. Remember that event in 2022 has come now to tell us that she will be giving detail of all of her story in a documentary any moment soon. Kingsley, a lot of people were really apprehensive when she said she was going to say something to the whole world, and now that's a long-held secret is being made open.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, it will be beautiful to watch, and of course, it will be lovely to hear what, of course, she has to tell the world, this time around. And for me, I'm looking forward to that documentary. It's going to contain all that she's done, in her career. Currently, she's the current, I think, World Athletics and Commonwealth 100 meters hurdle champion. And for me, it's a beautiful one.
Not just that, world record holder.
World record holder, you see. She won the Diamond League 3 times, 2021, 2022, and 2023. It has been, of course, a very fantastic time in the past 4 years to see, for Toby Amoso. And of course, we can also forget other things, she's done for herself. So for me, I think it's really an impressive one. We also hear that this documentary is going to contain, the issues, she had, with the World Athletic Integrity Unit, where she was suspended due to the fact that, she was sent, to take a prohibited substance and all of that, and how she was also able to maneuver, all of those obstacles and still stand strong. So for me, I think it will be a very, very impressive and an interesting documentary for Toby Amoso, and it is good, as an athlete or probably as a sportsman or a sportswoman, it's good for you to have yourself being documented, so that maybe in the future, people can, of course, see what you did, at a particular time. We talk about the likes of, Choma Ajunwa, of course, who actually did something great, for Nigeria. I think that was in Atlanta 1996. And the rest of the athletes, of course, who also put up a very impressive performance. How many of them, of course, had, themselves being documented in this fashion was seen from Toby Amoso at this point in time. There was a time we heard Choma Ajunwa went to, I went to Abuja, of course, and people, of course, somehow did not recognize her and all of that. So I think projecting yourself, as an athlete in this fashion help you to gain that, public awareness. People, of course, will recognize you and they will see so time or so time. So athlete, of course, did this, and of course, it is being documented. It's definitely that the world will go back to it. And I think for me, this will be a lovely one from Toby Amoso, and I think a lot of persons are waiting to watch this particular one.
The details and account of Toby Amoso in the world of sports, how she went from nobody to winning a world record in the 100 meters hurdles event will be or is on showcase now, and I think it is cheering. 12.12 seconds 2 years ago at the semi-finals of the World Athletics Championship in Oregon, the United States of America, she emerged as world champion. And up till now, of course, in the last 64 years or so, Toby Amoso is the only, I say it again, the only Nigerian with a world record in athletics, and it's no mean feat. And I think a lot of young generation want to know more about her many years after this railway record was set and how it was set. It could be a guide to that a younger athlete could follow to get into the pinnacle of sports as well. So we'll say congratulations to Toby Amoso, and at least a documentary that details an account of how she came to the limelight, and she's still there. But I think this will show, like we mentioned, how people can go through something and get at something. This is sharing congratulations to Toby Amoso, and we hope this Athletic Federation of Nigeria will know exactly what to do with this documentary aimed at discovering younger talent here in Nigeria. Away from a sharing piece of information on Nigeria's Independence Day yesterday, that was Nigeria became 64. We'll go to cricket now and still sharing news as well. Nigerian Cricket Federation only yesterday welcomed Nigeria's women's under-19 cricket team, the junior female Yellow Greens, back to Nigeria after an excellent performance from Rwanda, where they qualified for the 2025 International Cricket Council World Cup in the under-19 cadre for women.
Yeah, it was a very, very impressive outing for the under-19 cricket team of Nigeria, putting up, of course, an impressive performance. They were unbeaten, in the competition and went all the way to the final to beat Zimbabwe.
Host nation?
Yeah, host nation to qualify for the a World Cup come 2025. I think for me, it's really, of course, an impressive one for them. We talk about cricket. Back in the days, cricket used to be one of the sport that Nigeria, of course, performed very well. All of a sudden, we saw a little bit of decline. But with Uya Pata, now the president of the federation, I think we've seen a steady rise, in cricket in the past 3 years, of course, in the country in different categories, as it is. And if you take a look at it, Nigeria, they're forced to reckon with when it has to do with cricket as it stands now in Africa. We know of other African countries that are also good in cricket. Talk about likes of Zimbabwe, even Rwanda, you could mention. Kenya at some point, a little bit better in terms of cricket. But Nigeria, we're now seeing this steady rise, and the players, of course, are now living up to expectation. It was really an impressive performance, of course, from the girls, unbeaten in all the games. And I think for this particular one, they are very much ready for the competition, come next year. We hope that the president of the Cricket Federation in Nigeria, of course, will continue to put up strategies to make sure that we have, better cricket players in the country going forward.
Wow, we would like to say congratulations to you, Pata, with this World Federation in Nigeria, in addition to the Wrestling Federation that are really, really working hard at discovering talents. They're talking about the Cricket Council here in Nigeria, on the World Cricket Council event. We were there in 2019, right?
Yeah.
That's in the male category, and now the female have joined at the World event, and hopefully next year when this World Cricket Council a competition gets underway, there will be another Nigerian, this time on the 19 female side, doing all proud. So let's hope that the other federations will look at what the Cricket Federation and how the Cricket Federation and the maybe Wrestling Federation are getting it right, especially at the youth level. Congratulations again, and we'll go straight now to chess, where Deborah Cookman, a 12-year-old chess sensation, was among the winning lights at the John Fowley Chess Awards 2024 event recently held in Lagos. She won 2 awards, Kingsley. She won 2 awards, one in the Woman of the Year 2023, and of course the Junior Player of the Year 2023 for girls.
Impressive outing, of course, impressive outing for Quick Pain at this point in time, and from what it is, I think is the right step in the right direction. Seeing a young lad at the age of 12 putting up, such impressive performance when it has to do with chess, you definitely say that the future, of course, is bright, for her as it concerns chess competition in the country, even in the world. And I think for me, it's a good thing that the Chess Federation are now looking forward to creating a competition like this, having partnership with those who can possibly put up competition like this, so that we can see talent, being spotted when it has to do with chess in the country. Don't forget, chess is still a growing sport in the country. It hasn't really gotten that momentum, and we're still looking forward to see how we can possibly get those players that could possibly get out there and do something for the country. And Quick Pain could be one of them, taking a look at how she started at the age of 12. At the just concluded National Youth Game, we saw some impressive chess players as well, putting up some impressive, performance. And for me, I think the sport is gradually gaining momentum. If the Chess Federation could, continue to put up, such kind of competitions like this, I think going forward we'll have so many, chess players, not just chess players, good chess players in the country. And for me, for Quick Pain, was really an impressive performance at the age of 12, putting up such a feat. I think our future is bright.
Bright future in chess there, and especially when they were very young at the age of 12, emerging as a star chess player for the country, Nigeria. We would like to see her at the very best. A total of 30 awards were presented, acknowledging outstanding performances in various categories and recognizing individuals and organizations who have made significant contributions to the sports of chess here in Nigeria over the years. Apart from Deborah Kupen, other awardees included Adebayo, a Man Player of the Year for the year 2022, and Obuyo Perpetual, the Woman Player of the Year 2022 as well. We saw Bomo Giga, Man Player of the Year 2023, Callistus Deyefa, Junior Player of the Year 2022, and we had Onoya Yefu, who was Junior Player of the Year in the girls category as well. We'd like to congratulate all the awardees, and I hope that they continue to make the sports of chess proud by going forward in getting outstanding awards in the years ahead. Well, let's now just stay away from chess and go to boxing. And in boxing, Anthony Joshua has been told his career is finished with the final swan fight suggested after his devastating defeat to the Daniel Dubois. A lot of people do not believe that Anthony Joshua can bounce back after losing, before nearly 100,000 fans out there at the Wembley Stadium just about a week plus ago.
It is difficult to have that conviction, Mr. Siri, when you take a look at the way he was being beaten by Daniel Dubois a few days ago. It is difficult for you to say Anthony Joshua has what it takes to bounce back. He was beating Blue Black. He wasn't given a space. He fell on the ground about 4 times before he was finally knocked out in the 5th round in that particular match. That is not the Anthony Joshua everybody knows. And for him to come back, there's a lot of doubt in so many persons' mind that Joshua does not have what it takes to bounce back, especially when you take a look at the growing nature of boxing now, the way boxers are evolving, and Joshua is not living up to expectation. He's not stepping up in terms of his tactics, his ability, of course, to withstand punches, and all of that. Just few punches and he was on the ground on that very bout against Daniel Dubois. His legs, of course, couldn't carry him anymore. And that was how, of course, he was knocked out in the 5th round of that encounter. So, at this point, for you to really have that conviction, is Joshua still coming back? Is he going to come back? Is he going to come back to beat that, strong boxer we used to know? I think for me, it's very difficult to say at this point in time. Not when the likes of Alexander Usyk is firing, Tyson Fury is coming up, Zhilei Zhang. You talk about the man who just beat him the other day, Daniel Dubois. Except maybe he wants to go to, fight the likes of Deontay Wilder, who is actually on the ground at this point, who suffered, I think, a back-to-back defeat a few years ago. So at this point in time, it's difficult to say Joshua will bounce back in that very fine fashion that we used to know, except there will be something different, except him going back to his training camp and see what to do extraordinary. At this point, an extraordinary performance is expected from Joshua before he can claim the confidence for his fans once again, because at this point people will not want to put their money on Anthony Joshua anymore because of the way, of course, he has been beaten over time. So when you talk about the confidence of Joshua coming back, I think a lot of persons do not really have that in mind at the moment.
Anthony Joshua not getting it right, and a lot of people, promoters and of course boxing fans, are beginning to lose faith in his ability to at least win a 3rd heavyweight title. He's 2 times heavyweight title winner, and everybody thought that having prepared himself or having won at least 3 bouts leading up to the Anthony Dubois bouts, he was going to bounce back and maybe have a chance of getting at Alexander Usyk, man who presently owns the heavyweight category. Well, let's see whether he can bounce back. He's not too old. He's a young boxer. And for Dubois himself had a moment of losing, and he came back as well. So let's hope that the International Boxing Federation belt holder might give him a chance. A lot of people believe that the promoters are even losing interest in sponsoring a bout with Anthony Joshua.
For me, I think what Daniel Dubois is after now is the money. Is the money going to meet up his test? If he get the amount of money he wants, of course, I think he's going to go down to rematch with Anthony Joshua. But if he doesn't, it means he's going to be looking forward to the fights between him and Alexander Usyk or Tyson Fury, depending on who will come out victorious in that particular one come December. So I think that's what Daniel Dubois is on at this point in time. He's the boss at this moment to choose which of the fights he's going to fight, looking at where he is at this point. So if Joshua should offer something big or something huge for Daniel Dubois, I think he's going to get down to the ring for that particular rematch. So it's just what is on the table. That's what Daniel Dubois is looking at for at this point.
Well, let's go to tennis now. And talking about tennis, the China Open is here, and the finalists have emerged. First seed Coco Gauff is through to the quarterfinals of the China Open. Kingsley, Naomi Osaka was on the wrong side. was forced to retire in the last round of 16 match because of injury.
Very disappointing one, after, has to, get a new coach. She got the former coach of Serena Williams, and just to equip herself, getting down to the quarterfinals of this particular one, we thought she was going to go far, looking at the fact that it's been a long time we saw Naomi Osaka in the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam, or probably a WTA tournament. And at this point in time, we thought she was going to get far this time, but she had a back pain during the encounter, and she has to retire from this one. So sad, for her. She's been looking forward to put up, her best once again. Former world number one, of course, we used to know. But since she gave birth to her daughter Shai, her performance has really dropped. But she's tried most of the time to step up now by getting the former coach of Serena Williams at this point in time. If you take a look at it, a little bit of improvement in her performance. We just hope that she's going to bounce back from this injury and see how to put her game. But for Coco Gauff, impressive one for her.
Quest for more points, given that the Grand Slam is over, and you have to look at how you are placed at the end of the season. The China Open is becoming a very beautiful competition level. We have Jessica Pegula is out of the event as well at the round of 16. Conqueror is Paula Badosa of Spain.
Yeah, Paula Badosa of Spain has to put up a very impressive performance, in that encounter.
6-4-6 love.
Yeah, 6-4-6 love. You see a very impressive performance of Paula Badosa down there. This is the thing I've been talking about Jessica Pegula. Consistency is what we need. She's currently world number 3. The courtesy of that performance she had at the just concluded US Open, where I think she went all the way to the final, took her to that particular position. So why not continue with that performance? Why not continue with that form? I don't really understand. She has not really been stable, when it has to do with her performance. Coming down to a tournament like this, where maybe she could have used to gather more points, and now she's been hustled out at this point. So consistency has been the key word at this point for Jessica Pegula. She has not really lived up to expectation when it has to do with consistency. I'm not really happy with her, but it is what it is. At game of tennis, you have to be consistent, and that's why we must give kudos to players like Iga Swiatek, who has put up consistency for 2 years plus now, and Arina Sabalenka as well. It's not easy to stay at the top, and for Jessica Pegula, I think that is what she's lacking in her career. If she should step up her game, I think she's in that same level with the likes of Iga Swiatek and the likes of Arina Sabalenka.
While the matches are in the round of that's the quarterfinal stage at the China Open, at the Japan Open, it's been done and dusted, and France out of fields has come back from a match down, a point down, to win the Japan Open with a 5-7, 7-6, 6-3 win over Hugo Hubert. Hugo Hubert, everybody knows him to be one player who blows hot and cold, but Fields, the world number 24, came back from a bridge to edge past the Olympic. Actually his Olympic doubles partner in 3 hours 4 minutes in Tokyo. Yeah,
it was really an impressive encounter, Mr. Cyril. I was saw from Otofiz as Hugo Humbert. These are players that have shown much progress in the ATP tournament. This is his 3rd career ATP title. Talking about Otofiz, being ranked 24, in the ATP ranking. A very impressive player. But consistency, of course, we've not really seen from him. For Humbert, rank 19, of course, in the ATP, is also one player that have done so well. Was actually bidding to win his 7th ATP title in this one, but Otofiz was fantastic in that particular encounter than him. And for me, I think it was a final for players who have done so well when it has to do with the ATP tournament. But Otofiz was just too good in that particular encounter, and of course was a very huge one for him, getting his 3rd ATP title. I look forward to see him building on this particular momentum going forward.
Well, still in tennis, Yannick Sinner, the man who has been in the news for somehow a favorable reason in the last few weeks. I remember that his case of being administered with steroid, and that he escaped punishment, went to the final of the US Open, and of course continue to maintain his status as world number 1. A lot of tennis players are not happy about it, but we've seen him rolling into a home crowd win. You remember he's Italian, and the fans back home are continuing to support him, even at this moment where world tennis players begin to doubt his prowess.
Yeah, definitely. Some section of the fans are behind him, while some are not really happy with the situation on ground. Why will a player be tested positive twice and was still given a waiver, just point deduction and fine? That was not really enough. Whereas we see some players who has also been in this situation have been given ban. And at this point in time, the anti-doping agency are coming to say he must go on a 2-year ban, that he can't commit such and go scot-free. We understand the nature of what happened, that it was his physiotherapy that mistakenly had that on him, and he has come out to say that. But the anti-doping agency is saying that is not enough reason, that is not enough, that we've seen other players who have also maybe somehow taken this substance and they've gone on ban. So you too must also go on that 2-year ban. And the man is still saying that is innocent. But I think he's trying most going to take off all of these issues away from him and to focus, of course, on his game. We saw that impressive performance, of course, he had in that particular encounter. And that's to tell you that maybe the man do not really worry about what is going on around him. He's just being focused to see what he can achieve at this point in time. I think for me, I love his mindset. Whatever is coming around him, maybe he will find a way to maneuver it, but it's not going to be easy. This thing has a way of even affecting you, no matter how you try to see how to take your mind away from him. We hope Yannick Sinner, of course, will continue to be the strong man as he is and see how to fight all of this battle before him.
To know whether he's strong, he will have to take out Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz, of course, remember him, is in this final as well. Can he beat the Spanish prodigy?
It's not going to be easy because Alcaraz is looking forward to regain, of course, his form. And if you take a look at it, it has not really been rosy for the Spanish player since he actually was the runner-up in the just concluded Olympic game. Coming down to some of the tournaments and still was not able to put up a very impressive performance. I think he'll be looking forward to bounce back strongly at this point in time. And in this case, it's going to be a tough one for Yannick Sinner, looking at the fact that what is going on at this point in time might, at some point, psychologically, play in his head. And Yannick Sinner might just be in that advantage position to see how to capitalize on this one. But it promises to be a very tough encounter. Don't forget, it has been a very tough battle between these two players, and we look forward to see how it is. We just saw the latest ATP ranking the other day, and wasn't a very good position. We saw Alcaraz was ranked third and is certain as in Navarra for second, while we saw Yannick Sinner being the first man down there. So I think the man will be looking forward to see how he can grab the necessary points before the season comes to an end, and then see how to, of course, fight for the Grand Slam come next year, talking about Carlos Alcaraz.
Well, that will be it for this half of the show. We'll definitely be back after this break, but don't forget that when we come back, we'll be looking at history in the UEFA Champions League. 7 goals scored by German club side, Borussia Dortmund, last night. And here in Nigeria, there will be a traditional fixture in the Nigerian Professional Football League, where Insurance of Benin will be up against Shooting Stars of Ibadan. This is a must-watch for those who follow Premier League football here in Nigeria. A lot to talk about when we return from the break. Stay with us. Television network, and we've told you how Toby Amoso has, do I say, emerged as world champion in athletics. This has been properly documented for a younger generation to follow, and we hope that this will be a wonderful piece of document for a lot of Nigerians to follow, not just Nigerians, but world athletes to follow. Kingsley, let's get to the second half of the program, and this time we'll focus on football. And talking about football reminds me that the Nigerian Professional Football League will enter into match day 3. Is it match day 4? Fixtures today. 2 matches are expected to be played today, and they are traditional fixtures. Aqua United and Bayelsa United will hope to get their very first victory in the ongoing Nigerian Professional Football League. What's happening? Aqua United struggling at home. Bayelsa United as well struggling at home. But in this rescheduled week 3 fixture, 2 of them will lock horns.
Yeah, 2 of them will lock horns. And first, we'll take a look at Aqua United. Hasn't been a very impressive one, or an impressive start, for them this season. They've not won any game from what we've seen, at this point in time. They'll be locking us against Eyimba, a side who lost over the weekend against Rivers United at the Adoke Mesemaka Stadium. It was a very painful one for Eyimba Football Club, and they'll be looking forward to redeem themselves today from that particular loss. I'm not really happy with the situation of things at Aqua United because they've been struggling since last season. They have to bring in Baba Ganaro to come help them survive relegation, and he was able to put them through. And now for him to stabilize the team to get a better result going forward has been a very huge challenge. I don't know if it's as a result of the recruitment of new players, because we hear Aqua United recruited so many players, during the window. And maybe those players, they've not gotten their chemistry, they've not gelled enough, and that's why they are struggling at this point in time. They lost over the weekend at home to Sunshine Stars, and for me, was a very, very painful loss for them in that particular. But we look forward to see. It's going to be an interesting cracker today against Eyimba Football Club. We'll see, of course, who will get this particular award. And let's just keep our fingers crossed, because it promises to be an exciting encounter today.
Let's hope that it promises to turn out to what it should be, and at least the match is into match 4, and it looks very difficult for the home fans not to understand the joy of victory. Meanwhile, let's quickly now look at what is happening in Europe. Kingsley. A lot in the UEFA Champions League. Last night at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal was in a very joyous mood as they took on their opponents, and of course got all 3 points at stake.
Yeah, it was a very impressive outing for Arsenal Football Club against Paris Saint-Germain at the Emirates Stadium. A lovely performance, you would say, from the Gunners. They started it very hot in the first half, dominated. Though at some point we saw PSG coming out in the second half, of course, to come, challenge. But I think Arsenal were still able to hold their own. David Raya had the best, of course, in defense. We saw that beautiful goal, a beautiful header from Kai Havertz, and as well Bukayo Saka putting up that free kick, which went all the way, of course, down to goal. And for me, it was a very impressive one for Arsenal. I think they really showed that team spirit and that determination and that mentality of champions this time around. I will look forward to see how far Arsenal will go. The first game, they drew against Atalanta, but were able to win at home against Paris Saint-Germain with 2 goals. And that's to tell you that Arsenal, they are ready, of course, for this season for the UEFA Champions League.
Brest, a small team from from France, went all the way to Salzburg and beat RB Salzburg by 4 unreplied goals. This is, I didn't believe it when I saw the scoreline.
I tell you, it was a very shocking result, for so many. Nobody gave Brest a chance, against Salzburg. But
in Germany.
In Germany, and they were able to, steal the show, scoring 4 unreplied goals in that particular encounter. I tell you, it was a very impressive performance, from Brest. And with this, I think it's a huge statement of intent for them going forward. They can, of course, be one of one of the teams, that can possibly put up a very huge, challenge this time in the UEFA Champions League. Disappointing performance, if you ask me, from Salzburg.
Disappointing from Salzburg. Brest traveling all the way to Germany to beat them by 4 unreplied goals. It wasn't the only, in fact for me it was goals galore last night. It was the only 4-0 by Brest was not the only one in a way last night. We saw Manchester City as well travel all the way to their opponent's home ground and spanking them by 4 unreplied goals. This is, do I say, well, it's to be expected that Steaua Bucharest could be beaten by Manchester City, but considering 4 goals at home, for me, I didn't look at it in that direction.
But I really expected it. Manchester City, the high-scoring side, beating a team such as that. Of course, you expect them, of course, to unleash the goals. And of course, it was another time for Erling Haaland to show his prowess. Had a couple of goals, in that encounter. And for me, I think it was a deserved victory for Manchester City. Looking at how they've struggled in the past 2 games, we've seen hasn't been that rosy. We saw them drew against Arsenal Football Club the other day, and there was not really, of course, an impressive one. And from what it is, I think City, they are still stepping up despite missing their key players, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and also Rodri, who has been ruled out of the season. Manchester City, I think they still have what it takes, to compete in a very fine fashion. They drew their first game in the UEFA Champions League, but this was a needed victory for them, and they have to make sure that they come back and grab this one. So it's still very open for Manchester City.
Manchester City scored 4 goals. It was same for Inter Milan against Zvezda. They beat them by 4 unreplied goals as well. It was goals galore last night.
Goals galore last night, I tell you, was a high, was a night for goals. And Inter Milan, yes, a very impressive performance from them, of course, in the night. And we expected that from them after not scoring against Manchester City in match day 1. But meeting Zvezda, I thought it was going to be, a little bit of a tight encounter, but it was too easy for Inter Milan, getting 4 goals in that one. I tell you, there are also another side that are also ready this time for the UEFA Champions League.
Sporting Braga and PSV played out 1-1 on the night. What do you expect of this encounter? PSV Eindhoven of Holland, playing at home, could not win the opponent.
I expected more from PSV, looking at the fact that they were at home and they also got the support of the fans in that encounter. I expected them, of course, to have gone all the way, at least getting all 3 points in that game. But I think the Sporting Lisbon side, the team from Portugal, of course, were also fantastic at the night, coming up with that, level of performance, and at least were able to get a point back home. Was at least a very huge one for them. But for PSV, I expected them, of course, to have maybe gotten all 3 points in that game, but was a little bit of a disappointing performance. Were not able to grab all 3 points at home.
It was the same scoreline between Stuttgart and Sparta Prague. 1-1. It ended. Stuttgart played at home. Could not beat the opponent from Sparta Prague.
Another German side that I expected a lot, from in that one. After, of course, we've seen, some kind of disappointing performance. But for Stuttgart, looking at their progress, especially from last season, I still expected them, of course, to push hard this season. But I've not really seen that spark from them this season to be that team, of course, that could compete in all levels. But It's still early days, just March day 2. So I believe they still have what it takes, to challenge going forward.
Bayern Leverkusen of Germany beat AC Milan, one of the most successful teams in the UEFA Champions League, by 1-0 last night. AC Milan, no doubt, well known in Champions League football, but Leverkusen, last season, from what we saw of them, are continuing to show that they are a force to be reckoned with in this year's UEFA Champions League.
Yeah, beautiful one from Bayer Leverkusen, and that goal, of course, was scored by our very own Victor Boniface. Was a very fantastic one, of course, for him. The man has been scoring goals this time around, and of course, getting that goal in the UEFA Champions League was a memorable one, of course, for Victor Boniface. It was an impressive performance from Bayer Leverkusen, who actually came out of that draw, that 1-0 draw against Bayern Munich in the German Bundesliga, and coming up to win AC Milan. I think for me is a very impressive one. Don't forget, they won their first match with a very high score margin, and coming down to beat AC Milan is a huge statement of intent for them. And for me, I'm really worried about the state of AC Milan. They lost their first game in the Champions League this season to Liverpool, and now coming to lose their second game again against Bayer Leverkusen. For me, not the kind of performance, of course, I expect from AC Milan at this point in time. Really, really a disappointing outing in the last 2 games in the UEFA Champions League. Taking a look at how they've actually, tried to see how to put this team together, and yet they are not still turning out the results. Really, really disappointing outing. But we look forward to see how they can be able to maneuver the rest of the games going forward.
4 matches last night ended 4-0, and there was one that ended 5-0. FC Barcelona beating Young Boys of Switzerland by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goals to nothing last night. Barcelona was crazy last night.
Expected from FC Barcelona. Expected from FC Barcelona, especially when you take a look at what happened to them over the weekend, where they were beaten by Osasuna. 4 goals to 2 in that encounter. A shocking result for me. But bouncing back to the UEFA Champions League, of course, you expect them to beat Young Boys, and they came out in a very fine fashion to get those goals. And we look forward to see how far Hansi Flick, of course, and his men will go this time. An impressive outing, you see, for them in this UEFA Champions League. I think Hansi Flick is coming to change the narrative from what we've seen. The struggling Barcelona side they are not looking formidable. Apart from what we saw over the weekend against Osasuna, I think Barcelona, they are really, really good to go.
Lewandowski scored 2 goals last night.
Impressive one. Lewandowski, of course, has been in the score sheet for Barcelona since the season got started. Not forgetting Yami Lamar, 12, also been very, very instrumental, for Barcelona. And for me, you take a look at this set of players we have now at FC Barcelona, the likes of Rafinha, and the rest of them. They're looking very fantastic and eager to achieve. And that's the mentality, of course, a team is supposed to have, in a time like this, where it's looking very competitive, even in the Spanish La Liga and also in the UEFA Champions League. It's not easy at all. And I think with this level of mentality, Barcelona, of course, will be able to challenge.
Borussia Dortmund made history last night, scoring 7 goals past their opponent Celtic from Scotland, 7. And Nigerian player Adeyemi was on the score sheet 3 times.
Yeah, it was a very fantastic outing for Adeyemi. He won the man of the match and also took the ball home, for scoring hat-trick yesterday. For me, it was a very impressive outing for Karim Adeyemi. I'm impressed with Borussia Dortmund. See, firing. They went all the way to the finals last season. Were beaten by Real Madrid, but still back and still pushing this time in the UEFA Champions League. That's to tell you that Borussia Dortmund, they have what they are looking for in the Champions League. They might not be that sparkling when it has to do with the German Bundesliga, but in the Champions League, they are that one team, of course, you will always be afraid, to face. And it was a very impressive performance. I tell you, I didn't see that, goal margin for them in that encounter. But for me, it was a very impressive performance. And kudos to Karim Adeyemi. Keeping that level of consistency, I think, is a good one for him.
Tonight, there will be more Champions League fixture. Don't forget that there's a new format where it is now in a league form and all the teams are playing. And so you won't see what's the famous group fixtures anymore. Tonight, there are about 7 matches lined up. Atalanta up against Shakhtar Donetsk. This is, for me, a fixture that should produce goals as well. But a lot of eyes will be on the encounter between Benfica and Atletico Madrid. Kingsley, can you hazard a guess in this fixture?
Benfica and Atletico Madrid, I think for me, I will give it to Atletico because they have what it is, but it's going to be a tight encounter. Looking at the fact that Benfica, not that they are too poor or in terms of performance, but I think they can also fight. But Atletico Madrid, coming out from that draw over the weekend against Real Madrid, will be looking forward to see how to, put up something huge, in this particular one. So for me, I think if you take a look at Atletico Madrid this season, they are another strong side, especially in the Spanish La Liga. But can they replicate that performance in the UEFA Champions League? That's another big question. For some years now, Diego Simeone have not been able to put things right in the UEFA Champions League for Atletico Madrid. And we hope that this time will be a different case, entirely. Against Benfica tonight, it promises to be, an exciting one, a very strong encounter. I've not seen Sevilla, Benfica being too easy to get through. So we'll just hope to see a very impressive outing between the two teams today.
Aston Villa, no doubt, has an encounter against Bayern Munich. With what we've seen of Aston Villa so far, they have shown that, yes, they didn't win the Champions League many years ago for nothing.
Yeah. The truth of the matter, they're showing that what they did last season was just a fluke, and they are coming out this time around in the UEFA Champions League. They won their first match, and that was in the UEFA Champions League. I think they had about 3 goals in that encounter. A huge statement of intent as well, heading down to this game this weekend. And for me, I think Aston Villa, they're one team that you should, of course, think twice before you face. So Bayern Munich, over the weekend, they drew against Bayer Leverkusen, and coming down this time, I think they will also want to fight. But if you take a look at it, I think Bayern Munich, they have that a little bit of an edge than Aston Villa, especially when it has to do with experience. They've been in the Champions League back to back to back. In fact, the editions in the last 10 years to say. But for Aston Villa, they just came back after so many years of being absent in the UEFA Champions League. So you take a look at it, pedigree-wise, experience-wise, you give it down to Bayern Munich. But I think maybe experience will not be the key game today. It's all about the present form of the team and the tactical prowess of the likes of the managers, talking about owner Emery and Vincent Kompany, who has also been very fantastic for Bayern Munich this season. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch out for, and we'll see where the pendulum will swing to at the end of the day.
Talking about experience, plenty of it will be on showcase when Real Madrid go to France later tonight against Lille. Real Madrid versus Lille versus Real Madrid. Ancelotti, the coach with the most experience in the UEFA Champions League, and the same for the team Real Madrid. Kylian Mbappe could be on showcase in France tonight.
Yeah, he could be on showcase. Wasn't in the Madrid scored about 5 goals in I think about 5 or 6 appearances now for the team, and for me, I think has been a rosy one for Kylian Mbappe at Real Madrid, and him bouncing back tonight will be a good addition for Carlo Ancelotti's side against Lille, where they'll be having, of course, the top guys in the pitch of play, Jude Bellingham. We talk about Vinicius Junior and Mbappe back at this point. I tell you, will be a very impressive outing for Real Madrid against Lille.
European football experience will be on showcase. RB Leipzig tonight in Germany up against Juventus. Both teams know how to play European Champions League.
Yeah, both teams know how to play the UEFA Champions League. They have the experience. But RB Leipzig, for me, I think it's going to be a little bit of a tough encounter. For Juventus, Juventus have not been fantastic at all, even in the Italian Serie A. They've not been that team that everyone used to fear, like before. So I'm not really seeing them to be that of a strong side in tonight's encounter. For me, I think it's just going to be the same level of energy we're going to see from both teams. So just see, of course, who gets the night.
9th European Champions League fixtures up tonight, so you have a lot to watch from about 6 p.m. Nigerian time. And quickly, we have to begin to round up. Cristiano Ronaldo is in the news again. He's continuing to show why he's one of the world's most recognized players.
Yeah, impressive one, and the man is saying that he's getting closer to the stage where he has to call it a quits. 39 years of age, and he's still playing. A very impressive one. He's scored over 900. He has over 900 career goals. I think for me, the man has done a whole lot. He's broken a lot of record in the world of football. Total of 71 goals for his current club, Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia. About 2 or 3 seasons now, and I tell you, it's been a rosy one. Rosy career, you ask me. If you ask me, for Cristiano Ronaldo. And if you call it a quit today, everly, he will remain a legend.
Legend, no doubt, 5-time Ballon d'Or winner, and currently plays for Al Nassr of Saudi Arabia, where I think he has really stimulated a lot of movement of players going to the Saudi Football League. He continues to score goals. No doubt, he's a goal king by all standards. In fact, the last goal he scored just a day ago. He said it's in honor of his father, who is 71 years of age, who has his birthday. What a way to celebrate your father's birthday.
Yeah, what a way to celebrate his father's birthday. But his dad is late, and of course, that of course was just to remind him of what the dad did for him when he was, still a little boy. I think I actually take a look at a documentary about his dad, and the man was so passionate, and he felt so bad that his dad was not alive to experience and to see all what he's achieved, in football, and that's why, he has to, of course, accord that goal, to his dad, taking a look at how the man was so instrumental for his growth.
Well, we'll have to wrap up the show. We will definitely be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time for Sports Extraordinary, where we'll take a detailed look at most of the fixtures coming up in the UEFA Champions League and, of course, the Nigerian Premier Football League as well. But Andre Iniesta, remember him, Spanish great. He will be retiring from football on the 8th of October. Kingsley, what a way. After spending 2 decades in football, Iniesta played 674 times for FC Barcelona, scoring 57 goals in the process and providing as many as 135 assists. Now he's beginning to draw the curtains up. He won as many as 32 trophies, including 9 La Liga titles, 4 UEFA Champions League titles, and 6 Copa del Rey crowns. No doubt he's a man will be very happy, that will be very happy in retirement.
Yeah, of course. At 40 years of age, I think the man has done his best. Very impressive and very fantastic player back then in FC Barcelona, just like you mentioned. He's won everything. Of course, he has to win. Just the fact that he was very unlucky when it has to do with winning the Ballon d'Or was very close. But one man was always taking that from him. That was Lionel Messi. And I tell you, it was a very impressive career, if you ask me, for Andre Iniesta. Won the World Cup. That was in 2010, where he put up that, I think, that impressive goal we saw in South Africa. Was a very lovely one, of course, for Spain, and that will ever remain in the minds of every football lover. I think at some point he went down to Japan, had some time down there, and we hear, of course, is calling it a quit. It was really, of course, an impressive career for Andre Iniesta. We hope to see good midfielders like him, going forward.
Well, that'll be it. For those of you who are Manchester United fans, Bruno Fernandes has gotten his appeals won because of that red card that was given to. So I'm sure that will delight you this weekend as features on the Premier League football. Bruno Fernandes back on the pitch for winning on a red card appeal. Until we return your way at 6 p.m. Nigeria, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
Thank you.